We're excited to be here and tell you about what Zoundy is, how it came about, why it was created, and how it solves issues that many content creators, authors, publishers, professionals face today when they're marketing books and audiobooks. So rather than, maybe later we'll get into who we are, but rather than bore you with our backgrounds, we're going to jump right in. So Dana or Jared, why was Zoundy created? What was the reason we did that?
Well, I'll tell you from my perspective, I'm a self-published author. So I'll give you that perspective because I think Jared can speak a little bit more from the professional marketer standpoint and just give you my personal journey is I write because I feel compelled to write. And I write to young me, the things that I wish I knew back when I started my various business paths. And so in a sense, I'm trying to get my word out, trying to help people. I'm trying to get my message in the hands of more people. And there's a couple of ways that you can't do that in a normal publishing or even self-publishing model. I really can't give away my book very easily. I mean, an ebook maybe, but audio is such a more highly engaging medium that if I just put the audio up on Audible, then I just have to wait for people to find it. Zoundy is a tool that lets me give that away. I can give away the audio, which is just good for building my pipeline. It's good for top of funnel. I get people's email and I can engage with them. But also, I used Zoundy to support my print book launch. So I have a print book that I made a really elegant, binding on and spent, invested in. And I want people to pay for that one, but I want to give them something in order to sort of trade. So you order my book and pay for it on Amazon and you get my audiobook on Zoundy for free and you get it immediately. So if you pre-order, for example, a book, then you hit a link and I can get you to the landing page where my book is given away for free. So it's this, from an author standpoint, it's a really powerful tool to leverage, to sort of engage directly with an audience and get their email and give them something, in my case, for free that gets my message out there. And I tell people, give away this link, get more people in. It's you can post it on social. And the more listeners that I get, the more emails I get, the more I can drop people into my newsletter and continue to spin that flywheel.
And obviously, Dana, a publisher or a hybrid press could do that for you and accomplish some of those things as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't use an agency or a hybrid press that offers those services, but it's a service that if I had an agency, they could run that thing for me and for all of their authors. And again, just choose what the goal is for authors that are public speakers, coaches, consultants. Their book is a calling card, and it helps get them gigs for speaking. It helps get them clients for coaching and consulting. And again, they don't really need to sell another unit on Audible. They need to know who is listening to my book, and giving it away is a really inexpensive way to get a lead. So, sure. Whether they're using an agency, again, for their booking or whether they're doing it themselves and have their own internal marketing team, it's an incredible tool for the self-published or hybrid published author.
That's great. Jared, you've been a book marketer for a long time, more than 25 years, let's say.
Don't age me too much, but a little over 20 years.
You've worked with a lot of large authors. You've tried everything over the years. I want to start with this. What are some of the challenges that authors face today in marketing their products, their books and audiobooks?
Visibility. I mean, the biggest, I tell people this all the time, the best thing about the publishing industry today is it's never been more accessible. And the worst thing about the publishing industry today is it's never been more accessible. Yeah. Anybody can get their book out there, and there's really no vetting process anymore. So what you really have to do is come up with unique and different ways to find your audience and to reach your audience and to network with people that can help you reach your audience. And that's, I work with indie authors like Dana. I work with mid-sized publishers, large presses, and professional authors that are, using their book for ancillary parts of their overall business model. And the goal is the same for all of them. The goal is to reach your audience and connect with your audience, whatever that goal happens to be. In Dana's case, maybe it's build an email list. In the case of a major publisher, maybe it's cross-network titles and cross-network authors, and cross-promote them. For smaller authors or mid-size authors or even mid-size publishers, it's how do I leverage my product in order to get visibility? And that's been the biggest challenge, whether it's a print, ebook, or audiobook. It just happens to be that audiobooks give us the ability to do things that we haven't been able to ever do before with other formats.
So what are some of the ways that Zoundy solves that? How can we create visibility for authors, publishers?
Well, there's no question that audiobook growth has taken off exponentially. The challenge is not making your audiobook available for retail sale. We have tons of outlets for that. The challenge is getting that book into the hands of people that can become, champions of that book and that can become influencers for that book. So some of the challenges we face is how do we actually network a book? Let's say you come across a blogger that has 100,000 unique visitors per month and they love your book. Well, wouldn't it be great if you could turn around to that blogger and say, hey, how about you give 100 copies of my audiobook away to your audience to see what they think of it? It makes the blogger look great with their audience. It helps the author get the book out there. We've never been able to do that before. No platform affords the ability to do that. Let's say you have a professional speaker that wants to package their audiobook with a gig that they're doing with a major corporation. And they say, okay, I'll give you the audiobook away to everybody in the audience as part of my paid speaking gig. But on top of that, I'll take the recording of the keynote I did for your group. I'll put it at the front end of my audiobook, customize my audiobook, and give it to your group as a customized audiobook. You've never been able to do that before. These are just some of the things that you're able to do with Zoundy.
Yeah, and the audiobook, as we all know, has a high perceived value to the customer. So if you're trying to get someone to take action, why not give them something that they normally have to pay for and sometimes have to pay as much as $15 or $20 for, and give it to them in exchange for engaging with your product, giving you a name, telling someone else, giving a review. So there's a number of ways. Let's talk about that. Let's stay on the topic of what challenges authors have. It seems to me that authors I talk to have a hard time getting reviews on their books. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And the only way they can really get reviews is to get people to either friends and family to buy the book or leave reviews, or find the right outlet of a concentrated part of their target audience to take on that book. The problem is that normally you absorb a pretty significant cost in order to get those books into the hands of potential reviewers. And then on top of that, you have no real way of following up with them. As an example, if I find 50 people that say they're willing to review my book and I make it free on KDP, the ebook free on KDP, and they download it, I have no way of following up with those people. I have no way of knowing who they are. Conversely, if I use Zoundy with my audiobook and I find those same 50 people, guess what? When they download my book, I capture their email contacts so I can follow up with each one of them individually and say, hey, what did you think of my book? Would you consider doing a review of it, and so forth? So it just makes the engagement process so much more enriching and so much more valuable. And you really have control over the product at that point.
Yeah. I've seen stats that audiobooks get finished at much higher rates than print books. Do you think that people would be more apt to review a book they've finished than one they haven't finished? I mean,
absolutely. Absolutely. And I think the engagement process is so much better, because what audiobooks offer that no other format offers is the ability to consume it while really doing a multitude of other things, riding in your car, traveling, and everything else. That's why we see audiobooks taking off the way we do over the last 15 years, is because the immediacy of being able to download it, to be able to take it anywhere with you, and the ability to consume it faster and while doing other things. You can't do that with any other format. Besides the fact that you get that voice in your head, whether it's the author themselves narrating it or it's a professional narrator, there's a different level of intimacy than when you're reading the book yourself. It just overall, it's just more people enjoy it. A lot of people, who are purists say, oh, I want the written book. until they try audio. And then when they try audio, I'm never going back.
A lot of people read and listen now to increase retention. So it may be that now that they have the audiobook, it incentivizes them to buy the print book. As Dana said, he gave away the print book in order to sell. He gave away the audiobook in order to sell the print book. But in this case, you give away the audiobook, hoping someone will buy the print, because a lot of people are reading, engaging with both formats at the same time.
Well, Dana, I want to go to that model you have, because you don't just have the print book and the audiobook. You also have online courses. Can you talk a little bit about how you leverage all of them together in terms of ROI?
Yeah, the people who I have courses on LinkedIn Learning, and what we try to do is get people who've taken my courses. I don't have their personal information, so I have had 900,000, I think, students over the last decade come through my courses, and I don't have 900,000 names. So once we implemented Zoundy earlier this year, we started hitting people up who've taken my course with a little message on LinkedIn saying, hey, you can get on my email list and get a free copy of my book. And you don't have to land them on an email sign-up page. You can land them on the Zoundy page, because I'll know that this is somebody that's come to Zoundy, given a name and email address, and that I can reach back out to them, drop them into my newsletter, and get them engaged. So it's a way to kind of look for other places where people find you, but they haven't given a name or email. And so you can kind of sweep them in. I mean, it's a way to bring some top of funnel from a series of courses or, places where my content lives, where I wouldn't otherwise get to interact directly with the listener.
Yeah. I mean, these strategies you guys are coming up with are powerful, but I guess the next question is, isn't anybody else doing this? Isn't there a way to do all of this in one place? Are there other tools that compete with Zoundy, or is Zoundy unique?
I'll tell you an anecdote. There are a lot of people who run, say, masterminds and are trying to get people into high touch consulting of some kind. And one of those is in an industry that I pay attention to. So I got an invite to get a free audiobook from this person who's running a pretty large, well-known mastermind. And I wanted to see, how am I going to interact with this guy's audiobook? I got a thank you and a welcome and a link to a Google folder. And so I had to click on the Google folder, and then I got like 20 tracks. And then I had to be connected to the internet with a window open in Google Drive and push play, and then move my way through the tracks. And
it doesn't remember when you come back. It's hard to find later. You can't speed it up. No sleep timer, no car mode, no. The apps are the way to go. And of course, Zoundy has those apps.
Right.
Is that? I think that is. Yeah, that's a pretty poor user experience.
It's so much like I got through one chapter, and then I don't remember where the window went. It was like I haven't been back. So yeah, he got my attention. I wanted the free audiobook, but there was no ease of use, and therefore no engagement. I didn't finish the book. I haven't reviewed the book. And he took the time to record, an audiobook and create tracks for every chapter. And he's one of a million people that need a tool like Zoundy to be able to professionally distribute and let people have an Audible-like experience, asynchronous, with sitting in front of your computer. And that is one of the big, to me, differentiators. When you and I started talking about starting this company, you'd incubated this as a tool for your publishers, Cory, and said, this is what I'm using this for. It's really helpful to let people circulate an audio and review internally. And it kind of took it to the next level and said, well, wait a minute, if there's nothing like this, then what is everybody doing? And they really are just using an LMS or Kajabi or some clunky user experience where they get a video or their audio in front of people after they've already got them somewhere. The beauty of this is, once you get the email, you can actually land your potential customer on a Zoundy page capture them, and immediately drive them into the product itself and have them engage it.
Most people don't know this, but one of the first promotions we did with an author early on, and we were in a minimum product mode, minimum viable product. You've heard that term. We were in the mode of just something that was very, very simple and didn't have all the obviously bells and whistles and features we have now. But this author was able to get 4,000 or 5,000 people to listen to the book, and got those names as well, downloaded the list. And the support that we got early on was authors saying, I love this. How can I do it? We got very few people complaining about, using the tool, and it's a fairly frictionless experience. So I think that's why is a user can easily get right in and be listening, and it's remembers where they're at, and just sort of gives them the that Audible-like experience that everybody demands, or Libby-like experience that people want, and that's what they expect. And if they don't have that, I think they are unlikely to finish.
Finish it. They're not going to review. Like, think of all the things you want your customer to do. You want them to be impacted. You want them to tell someone else. You want them to review it. You want to interact with them. These are all being driven by getting people deeply into the product, and that's frictionless. So yeah.
And but Dana and Jared, back to tools. There are some kind of learning tools you can kind of sort of force this into, right? I mean, there's got to be some other way to do this. Is there a competition for Zoundy?
Listen, I have been in book marketing, like we talked about, for over 2 decades, and not to say that there aren't some platforms that allow you to do maybe 1 or 2 of the things that you can do on Zoundy, but I have yet to come across anything that's as holistic as Zoundy is in terms of being able to do everything in one place. And to Dana's point, the frictionless way you can do it. User interface today is so important that if you have any type of process that creates any type of hurdle for your user, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them from completing the book. You're going to lose them from even signing up. You're going to lose them from leaving a review, all of the things that you're trying to get them to do. So my answer is no. I mean, not that I'm aware of. And trust me, before you and I originally had our talk about this, I was looking, and I continue to look. And I mean, I'm on the marketing side of things, and you and some of the other members of the team are on the development side of things, but we've talked every day about how to make this as smooth as possible for both the publisher author, but also for the end user. And I think that's the thing more than anything else that separates us. The tools and functionalities you can't get anywhere else. You just can't. The ability to customize, the be able to fulfill bulk orders, run discounts, all the different things you're able to do, cross-market the titles and everything else, that's all fantastic. But it's the frictionless way in which you can do it that is, to me, the pinnacle. Because if you had all those gimmicks, but you didn't have the offline listening, you didn't have the great apps and the smooth ability for people to start engaging with you, it wouldn't matter.
Yeah, there is a company that focuses on reviews, and they have a rather large, user base, but it's kind of like the plan is to lock it down and make sure that person is a reviewer, right? A professional reviewer of books. Whereas ours is open. We want as many people as possible to get in as quickly as possible. And then we want to allow the authors and members in Zoundy to be able to cross market to all those people in Zoundy. So it's a little bit different approach.
Well, I think it's the same plus more, because I think this is the mistake a lot of different marketing companies make. I engage with a lot of hybrid publishers and author services publishers that have their kind of gold, silver, and bronze marketing packages. The reality is that every book is unique, and the goal for every author and publisher tends to be unique on behalf of that title. And so we wanted a platform that allowed each individual book to be able to do the things they needed to do to be successful. The people Dana wants to reach and the people Dana wants to network with are going to be different than one of my clients, which is going to be different than another publisher's client. So it may be one book wants to go after traditional reviewers. That's great. But I may want to go after working with bloggers. Dana may want to go after working with NGOs. Who knows? But the difference is that our platform allows you to do whatever you want to do within the the title specific business model rather than being kind of pigeonholed into let's go after reviewers.
Yeah, that's great. So who are Zoundy's target customers? Who are we targeting?
I would say indie authors, hybrid publishers, author services companies, and major publishers, and pretty much anybody in between. Basically, if you have an audiobook or audiobooks that are listed for retail sale or that you want to leverage in some other capacity, you should be on this platform.
Yeah, and the anyone who is trying to use their book, I'll say indie author, certainly people who just want to be writers want their book, read by more people, but so many authors their book is a tool. It's an expression of what they do. And so anything that they're doing to spread the word, to spread the book, is pollinating lots of other opportunities for them that as you said, Cory, when it comes to whatever the competing services, there, you can put it on Google Drive. You could put it on as an audio course on Udemy maybe and give it away. But these are high friction, sort of odd ways to achieve a goal that Zoundy solves.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example, Cory. I had an author who's on Zoundy right now, and she was at a conference 2 weeks ago. She took a business card, put a picture of her book on one side, and put a message on the other that said, "Please enjoy my free audiobook," with a QR code to her Zoundy landing page. She was able to walk around to the few thousand people that were at that conference, and for the cost of a couple thousand business cards, which is about $100, she was able to walk around and literally give her audiobook to every single person there because she wanted to be able to get her voice out there, get her book out there, and network with them. She's able to then go home, see who downloaded the book, have access to their emails, and follow up with them any way she wants. I mean, that's such a ridiculously inexpensive way. Now, that's traditional networking right there. You can take that same approach and do it digitally, exponentially, with bloggers, with websites, with social media influencers, with even columnists and everything else. I mean, professional organizations, the opportunities really are limitless. It's pretty exciting to me. For me, I mean, forget being involved with Zoundy. I can tell you that I'm using it for my own clients as a book marketer.
Yeah, I'm using it too. So I've been an audiobook marketer for over 20 years, and I'm using the tool as well with success. And it's I need more ways to build my customer list. And I have a lot of audiobooks, right? As a publisher and distributor of audiobooks.
Well, it's interesting you say that. I do want to touch on one thing you said that. This is about audio product, audio content, not just audiobooks.
True.
Let me give you an example. I consult with a hybrid publisher that's trying to grow their business. And one of the things they've done is they've recorded a mini audiobook on the 10 things to consider before publishing. And it's simple. I think it's about I think it's a total of about 30 minutes, and it touches on each of these 10 things. Guess what she's doing? She's taking that, she has it up on Zoundy, she's taking that, and she's walking around and giving it to people at publishing conferences and everything else, basically as a way of capturing potential clients for her hybrid publishing company. So it's not just about having an audiobook. It's about having quality audio content that you can use to leverage with your target customers, whomever they might be.
Yeah, that's great. So, we've talked about this, but authors, it's a challenging environment for an author with something like 1 million books being published each year, right? This is we don't know the exact number. It's probably much higher, but let's say it's 1 million. That's a lot. We talked about discoverability, but lack of engagement, things like that. I think some other issues that authors face are reaching younger audiences and demographics. Audio, as you know, skews younger. Under 40 are listening at really high rates. 30% are listening to several books a month. So this is a great way to hit millennials, Gen X, and people under 40. Another issue, I think you mentioned this, Jared, is getting pricing control. So you really don't have the ability to price your products in most retail channels. You can price it once and then it sort of stays that price forever, and it sort of fits into that model that the channel offers. But in Zoundy, you can run sales on bundles of books, do freemium, freebies, give away, sell something, and then give the audiobook away for a period of time. So you really have that pricing control, not just changing the price, but changing the pricing model, which is very unique. Getting customer data. How about decreasing margins, right? We know this, but we should let the folks listening, what are the margins like if you sell on Zoundy compared to other channels?
I mean, the other channels, I mean, we can speak to it, but I believe, you know, if you take ACX, if you go exclusive with ACX, which means you can't put your book anywhere else, you get 40% of the sale. If you go non-exclusive with them, you get 25%. Our margins are at 60%. So it's just well above industry standard. Go ahead, David.
Let me interrupt, because remember that with Audible, it's a black box, so you actually don't know how the base is calculated to get your 40% of something, because a freestanding sale is rare. They're a subscription, they bundle, they have an algorithm to determine what your allocation is, and then you get 40% of that. And so I'll tell you from selling some units that I probably don't make $1 a sale on my book on Audible. That doesn't mean some people aren't making more, some publishers aren't making more, but that's how it shakes out. If I can sell the book for $5 and keep 60% of it on Zoundy, I'm coming out way ahead, and I'm pricing it at a fraction of what it costs on other platforms. And certainly if I want to sell it at full price and I have an audience that will pay to get it directly, then I'm keeping the lion's share of the revenue, and there's no black box to hide behind. It's the price that you set it for that gets sold on Zoundy, and you get your percentage of that.
Well, and let's play off of that for a minute. It goes beyond just retail sales. I think one of the things that people are really attracted about at this point is the ability for specialty market and bulk order sales. Right now, when we talk about traditional print books, about 25% of sales are generated from retail, are generated from specialty market sales, some type of non-traditional retail or specialty market sale, which is a huge percentage. But that doesn't transfer over to audiobooks, which it should. But the reason it doesn't is because there's never been a platform available to facilitate that before. So if you partner with an organization or a company or a non-traditional retail outlet that says, you know what, we'll take 500 units of your audiobook at a reduced rate at wholesale or at a bulk non-returnable amount, and we'll buy that from you, and then we'll resell it. You have the ability to do that on Zoundy now, in both digitally and physically. If you want to make cards with a QR code or anything else, you have the ability to do that, which opens you up for relationships with both brick and mortar and digital places exponentially. And that, you know, Cory, going back to your question from a few minutes ago, that is something I know is not available anywhere else.
Yeah. Well, another thing about the economics is that there are plenty of public speakers and trainers and coaches that go make a presentation, and they've got boxes of books because they're also selling books at the back of the house, right? The beauty of Zoundy is you can put that QR code up on your screen the entire time you're talking, and sell through that or give away the audiobook, whatever your business model is. If you want to capture a username and give it away, then you're going to get a lot more engagement when people are sitting there looking at your slideshow. But also, if you're going to sell your books in the back, you can say, I've got some print books here, but you can buy the audiobook while we're sitting here right now with this QR code at a discount. So you can do the same thing you would have done stumping around with a trunk full of books now with a QR code on your slide presentation.
Yeah. Well, let's make sure this is I think will be really helpful to people who are considering Zoundy. But let's make sure we didn't miss anything. I want to kind of break up the activities that users are using Zoundy for, current users, and kind of put it in a few buckets. So one is use it for, say, book launches, audiobook marketing. So you have a traditional audiobook you've made. let's talk about how users are marketing audiobooks. Clearly, it's not just audiobooks that are being marketed on Zoundy, but let's focus on that for a minute. And one thing I'd say is creating urgency. So when you're trying to get someone to do something, the fact that you have a product that has a high perceived value, and then you have this limited time giveaway. It's only available for a short amount of time. Get it now. I'll have this offer. You can actually say this offer will only be available for 3 days. You could say only 100 people or 10 people can get this offer. So you can sort of create urgency, like go over there and get on my list right away because I want to give you this. And I think that's unique. It's tough to create scarcity in a digital world, and everybody knows that you need to get people to pay attention. And so Zoundy allows you to create some scarcity, which I think is helpful. I'm going to go through a couple other things, in terms of audiobook marketing as an audiobook expert, or someone who's been in the industry a long time marketing audiobooks. I find these things I'm mentioning here to be valuable to our company. And the other one is running sales. So flash sales, highly discounted a la carte sales, bundled sales. You really can't run a sale anywhere, and to have the flexibility of running all kinds of different sales to get people interested, running a sale on your entire catalog. All of these can be accomplished in the Zoundy system by an author or publisher in minutes. You can set up promotions, set up a sale, put your catalog on sale, change the price of a bundle of books. Another one is getting booked on podcasts. So everybody suggests you could do a podcast tour, right? Well, how do you get these people on these podcasts to pay attention? I mean, a lot of these podcasters are audiophiles. They're audiobook people. They listen 100 books a year. And so if you give them an elegant, a sort of frictionless, seamless way for them to engage your audiobook, I think there's a higher chance they'll listen to it and book you. And clearly that's one of the main strategies for book launch these days, is getting on podcasts. And then the other one would be getting more people to finish the book. If you get people to finish a book, they're more likely to mention it, review it, recommend it. It's more likely to create buzz. It's just your possibilities go up for visibility and engagement, discoverability for your book. So in terms of like marketing audiobooks, we've talked about a lot of this, but those are some of the strategies that people are using right now. But I want to go into one more, which is basically traditional book launches. Dana touched on this, but I want to go into a little bit more detail. Maybe Dana, you or Jared could talk about, what are the nuts and bolts of using a tool like this for a book launch? Like what's the process?
Well, I'll say that the very first thing I always look to do for a book at launch is what I call POP reviews, point of purchase retail reviews. They are the most influential, whether we like to admit it or not, the most influential kind of component to a book launch. So what this allows me to do is get point of purchase retail reviews faster than I can almost any other way. People will look at reviews to decide whether they're going to read something, buy something, gift something. Media will look at it to decide whether they're going to have you on. So point of purchase retail reviews are enormously important. And this allows you the ability to generate those faster than any other way. You're able to get to the book to people faster, cheaper, and at higher volume. You're able to follow up with people faster. And people are, like you said, more likely to finish it than they are any other format of book. From there, it goes into whatever the strategic marketing activities are for that particular launch. But it's generally what I consider point of purchase retail reviews, external reviews, which drive, or awareness reviews, which you get, like you said, whether it's a podcaster, whether it's a blogger, whether it's a print media person, you get them to mention the book to their community. And those are the external reviews. Again, this allows you to get the book into the hands of those people in such a frictionless way, and in a manner in which they're more likely to actually consume at least part of it, that you give yourself a much, much better chance of success.
What about early access? You have VIPs, your launch team. I mean, these are things people recommend, obviously getting out to influencers and podcasters. But Dana, did you do that? Did you use the tool to get it out to people early?
Yeah, I did a little bit. The one component that my book coach told me to do that I didn't do was to ramp up 25 or more podcast guests opportunities within the 3 months before my book was released. So the timing of when Zoundy became available and the book date launch was too close for me to leverage it. But just say, like, this is a pretty well trodden territory. You need your Amazon reviews to exceed 100 as fast as possible, because people at that point perceive that others have valued the book enough to review it. And it is sort of a magic number that people strive for, and they want to get there right after launch. They also, if you do get there right after launch, there's a possibility that your ebook hits a bestseller list because you get velocity. You get enough people that have heard you on a podcast around the same time that you end up with a couple of days where your usage surges. But I do know people that have done the 25 plus guesting before their book launch, and they have quickly been close to 100 reviews. So to me, the Zoundy tool is a great way to butter up the podcast invite where you're trying to be a guest, get the book in the hands of your podcast interviewer, and tell their audience they can also get however you're using the Zoundy version of the book. In my instance, I would be saying, go to this landing page and pre-order the book, and then come back and put your pre-order number here. And then our automation would just pop them onto a page that gave them the secret Zoundy page for the free copy.
Yeah.
And that way, while they're waiting for the print book to be released, or the Kindle to be released on the order day, they get to listen to it. And then, in my case, I did use it for pre-order. I told people, this is a very giftable book. Hopefully you enjoy the audiobook. And by the time the print book comes, you might want to give it as a gift because it's beautiful and well bound, and a great, gift to a high school or college graduate or something like that. So
yeah,
that's how.
Cory, let me give you an example of what I just did with another book, similar to what Dana did, but almost in the reverse. I've had an author on about 18 radio interviews and podcasts over the last couple of weeks. And with every one of those hosts, we gave them a code for 50 free downloads of the audiobook. So this is pre-publication. So they did some pre-publication interviews, and I'm all about, what's your call to action? What value are you capturing from doing it? Well, the book's not even available for pre-sale yet. So we're giving the audiobook away well ahead of time. There's 50 of them. So you create that scarcity, and we're capturing and so they put that giveaway up on the host, put that giveaway up on their social media platforms and everything else, because it ingratiates them with their own listeners. And we're capturing all the names of all those people that have downloaded it. What we're now doing, now that we're near the book's launch, is we're going to go back to all the people that downloaded the audiobook, and we're actually going to gift them a copy of the ebook. We'll make it free on KDP for like a week, and we'll gift them a copy of the ebook because we now have their emails because they downloaded the audiobook on Zoundy. We gift them the ebook, and we follow up with them asking them to leave a review. So it's very simple process, but it gives us that direct access to those people. Now, we could just as easily discount the book and give it to them, try to sell it to them for $1.99, but our first goal is reviews. Yeah. And as you well know, word of mouth is still the most powerful form of advertising. If someone receives a free audiobook, the follow-up free ebook, and they like it, they're going to tell others. So it's a very, very inexpensive, almost free way of getting our point of purchase retail reviews and getting a bunch of people to start talking about the book ahead of time.
Well, and you get rid of that barrier of go buy my book and review it. It's just one more thing. You're telling people to buy the book. Now you need to read it. Then you need to review it. It's a lot to dump on someone. Even your mom probably won't do it. Your mom. That's a problem. And I love the idea of the early access, because you can't do this anywhere. Once you put your book out there, it's sort of like you distributed it. It shows up, and some channels you can set it up for a pre-order, but they can't get it and listen to it. Here, you control a private copy of your book. You can give it to people who are important to your book launch plan, and tell them you're going to get this before anybody. You're a VIP. You're going to get this. No one else has it. And that's kind of exciting, and it means something. It's special. So I think that's making the people that are helping you out making them feel special, giving them really good bonuses for a pre-order campaign, giving them things early, giving them a good experience like Zoundy and not a SoundCloud link where someone's just scrubbing through trying to remember where they left off. All of these things go a long way when you're asking people to help you out with a book launch.
Absolutely.
What about bonus content? This is something bonus content's a hot topic. No one does it. You can do it now. But let's talk about bonus content. What is it? Why would you do it? How would how would people use this?
Well, bonus content for an author, it could be behind the scenes. If it's if it's a book that has some story to it, a biography or something like that. But if I'm writing business self-help type books, I can use bonus content to just record additional audio content that are things that might have been cut out of the book for efficiency. I could do an interview with somebody that's mentioned in the book as the author, and then you've got some curated content that's exciting for someone who gets through the book. It could even be that I could leverage someone else who's more famous than me, interview them on my podcast, and then add bonus content, my interview with so-and-so who is more famous than me, and then have people go like, wow, I'd like to listen to this now that I know there's bonus content with someone else besides Dana that I think is more famous or more worth listening to.
There's a couple of key
bonus content can also be leveraged in terms of cross-marketing titles and authors. So if you're a big publisher and you have a huge backlist of audiobooks, you can give some of that backlist away for free or greatly discounted through Zoundy, and you can leverage it by putting one of your newer authors' first 2 chapters of their next audiobook on the back end of it by cross-marketing the authors. You can do the same thing by cross-marketing titles, which is, hey, you've just finished the book by so-and-so, check out the first 3 chapters of her next book. So bonus content can take a lot of different, can come across a lot of different ways. Bonus content, like Dana said, if you do a speech for an organization and you want to put that speech on that keynote onto your book and audiobook and gift it to them as a complete package, it's very customized for them now. So bonus content can be just so many different things. And it's worth mentioning, we talk about bonus content, that Zoundy also allows you to pick and choose what tracks you want. So let's say you only want to give away the first 3 tracks of your book, or you have specific ones you want to give away for different purposes, or you have a data capture functionality on your website that says, download the 10 tips, and the 10 tips happen to be in chapter 3. You can give just chapter 3 away. So you can pick and choose what you want to give away as well.
Right. And just so we're clear with everyone, in Zoundy, you go in, you upload a new track, you drag it to where you want it to go, you name it, and you record whatever you want. And so you're effectively like building and retitrating your book and setting it up as a new product or setting it up as something unique. And I like the idea of making something that's more robust for your giveaway, because you're more apt to get that name and get someone to go there if there's a lot of extra content that's there. There's some large authors who will provide audio commentary for every chapter of a published book. So someone who loves that author, loves that book, can go through and hear additional comments and thoughts and notes. There's the famous Gary V, who would go off script and complain about funny things like his editor. And it was, kind of cringy sometimes, but it was entertaining because you never knew what he was going to say or do. And you're like, did the publisher allow that? But in the audiobook, somehow it slipped through. He's complaining about the experience of being with this publisher. And it's very authentic. And it's endearing. And like you said earlier, when you have someone's voice, when an author reads and that voice is in your ear, you make a connection that's beyond just reading, beyond just looking at a page and reading those words. When you hear the voice, everybody's voice is unique. So there's a special connection that happens with people that listen to podcasts and listens to authors read their books. So that can be a valuable approach. Let's go on to, we talked about some of these things, but I want to talk a little bit about selling at higher margins. I've got a couple of ideas for this. What if you've got a book, you've made your book, you've made your audiobook, you've spent a bunch of money, and you're thinking, I don't know if I'm ever going to recoup on this audiobook with what I'm getting at Dana mentioned some of the economics of some of the large channels. How am I ever going to make this money back? Well, one idea is you sell it with additional content at full price, and you give away the ebook separately, and you just sort of like stack up some things, provide some bonus content, and then you get 60%. So what if you're making $15 a sale or $12 a sale? You're making 12 times what you make somewhere else, even more. Some of the channels pay even less than $1. And you're making a lot more money, and you're getting a name, and you're just sort of like ending up with a lot more advantages to selling there. So maybe you don't put it wide at first. Maybe you just push your raving fans, the people that really like what you're doing and like this content, to Zoundy. And you recoup your book that way, because you're going to sell to a smaller audience at first. I mean, there are strategies. I mean, the strategies are endless. We're just giving ideas here, obviously. But in any other, like, what about margins? Any other ideas about how to use Zoundy for selling?
Well, I mean, we touched on this earlier, but the specialty market, non-traditional retail, and direct fulfillment is huge. That's something you can't do anywhere else. Even if you're selling your book at retail for $10 and you're getting your 60% on Zoundy, so you're making $6 a book, that's great. But if your book's normally $10 and an organization wants 100 copies of your book and you can sell it to them at a discount of $7 a book instead of $10 a book, Zoundy doesn't take a piece of that. You can direct fulfill that to them. That's part of what you're paying for, is the ability to be able to direct fulfill those to people. And they're not purchasing through Zoundy. It's just like a speaking engagement or anything else, or any other product you're selling to them. They're giving you $700. You're sending them those books, and the sale is done. So it's the ability to do direct fulfillment and bulk order sales. Completely flips the script on being able to recoup your money. I mean, we're talking about taking the concept of back of the room sales and just injecting steroids into it and being able to do it in so many different ways. Yeah,
that's great. Well, I think if someone's still with us at about the 50-minute mark, they probably are still interested. And I at this point, I'd like to share of some of the tools that we have. We have a launch, basically a book launch plan that includes a lot of the things that traditionally people do to launch a book. It includes some of the things that you would use Zoundy for, to make your book launch more, add to it and make it more robust. It's got a written description and then sort of a worksheet. So you can email us at support@zoundy.com for that. That will be publicly visible at some point for members, but you can ask for that. The other thing is we're doing a lot of marketing, book marketing tips and tricks, and launching a podcast. So kind of look for those things. We are all about helping authors get more engagement for their audiobooks, sell more books, get more reviews, get the word out, and hopefully reach, for authors and publishers to be able to reach their publishing goals. And that's what Zoundy can facilitate and help. So with that, do you guys have anything else you'd like to add that maybe we missed in this webinar?
I think my book coach, who's been in the business for his whole career, and you guys can probably verify this, said that there is a place in the life cycle of a book where it takes on a life of its own. And that's, if you want to say you should owe it to yourself as the author or indie publisher to give every book a chance at life on its own. But to get there, you actually have to market the book. There's no passive way other than a black swan, luck, some lightning in a bottle. But you can control your destiny if you start taking your book as a product that you're responsible to give it life. And for a year or 2 years in the beginning of that, if you can get that book to 4,000 or 5,000 sales or giveaways, you have very high odds that the book will take a life of its own. It will have hundreds of reviews, and you'll have given your ideas or your authors, if you're in the publishing business, their best shot at that book having a life of its own.
And I would piggyback that by saying that there are 3 marathons in the book process. There's the writing of the book, the production of the book, whatever format that is, and then the marketing of the book. The area that is most often super neglected is the marketing side of it. You
Right.
have to treat this like a business. You have to invest in yourself and invest in a business. The second you want to profit, whether that's financial remuneration or some other type of captured value from a book that you're bringing to market, it goes from hobby to profession, and you need to treat it like a business. One of the things I love about Zoundy is that it is a super inexpensive way for authors to control their own destiny, for publishers to be able to market hundreds of titles, for hybrid publishers to be able to partner with their customers and help them not only in the short term, but in the long term of the success of their book. So I've always been an author advocate, and this empowers the author to truly take advantage of that third marathon, that marketing side of things, and be the steward of their own success in a very, very inexpensive way.
Well said. Well, I appreciate it. I hope this was informative. If you have questions, you can obviously reach out to us, our name at Zoundy.com, our first name at Zoundy.com. So if you have further questions, let us know. We're here for you. We want to help you be successful in your book marketing activities. Thank you.